Hello there, and welcome to the Sleepy Science channel. Tonight we will be exploring the warm and fragrant world of spices, a realm filled with flavor, with history, and endless wonder. In our kitchens are the usual sights: cinnamon, pepper, and the familiar jars we use every day. But there is so much more than meets the eye. Some spices traveled thousands of miles across ancient trade routes. A simple seed may have sparked wars and changed the course of empires. And the gentle aroma of cloves may carry memories from islands you have never seen. The world of spices is both ordinary and extraordinary, something we taste every day yet never ceases to amaze. If you enjoy these quiet explorations, I invite you to like and subscribe or share a simple thought down in the comments. It helps others find their way here too, one sleepy soul at a time. But for now, all you need to do is rest, settle in, and allow the warm comfort of spices to carry you. Let us begin. The ancient origins. Every spice jar in your cabinet holds a story thousands of years old. When you open a container of black pepper or reach for a stick of cinnamon, you are touching a lineage that stretches back to the dawn of civilization. Ancient peoples discovered these treasures long before written history began. They found that certain seeds, barks, and roots could transform bland meals into feasts. They learned which plants could preserve food through harsh winters, and they noticed that some aromatics could soothe the sick or mask unpleasant odors. These discoveries were passed down through generations, becoming the foundation of trade, medicine, and culture. The spices we sprinkle casually today were once more valuable than gold, fought over by empires, and carried across deserts and oceans at tremendous risk. To understand spices is to understand human history itself. Cinnamon was once worth more than gold in ancient Rome. In the markets of ancient Rome, cinnamon commanded extraordinary prices. This aromatic bark, harvested from trees in distant lands, was so precious that only the wealthy could afford it. Roman texts describe how traders would pay the equivalent of 15 months' wages for a single pound. Emperors used it to demonstrate their power and wealth, burning vast quantities at funerals to create clouds of fragrant smoke. The Roman historian Pliny the Elder complained about the enormous sums flowing out of Rome to purchase cinnamon and other spices, wealth that would never return. What made cinnamon so valuable was not just its flavor and aroma, but its mystery. Romans did not know where it came from. Traders kept the source secret to maintain their monopoly, spinning tales of cinnamon growing in valleys guarded by giant birds or near the homeland of the phoenix. The truth, that it came from the island of Sri Lanka, remained hidden for centuries. The spice trade shaped the ancient world more than any other commerce. Long before oil or silicon chips, spices drove global trade. Merchants established routes that connected civilizations across continents. Caravans crossed the Arabian deserts carrying frankincense and myrrh. Ships sailed from India laden with pepper, ginger, and turmeric. These trade routes became the arteries of the ancient world, pumping not just spices, but ideas, religions, technologies, and cultures across vast distances. Cities grew wealthy by controlling key points along these routes. Venice built its maritime empire largely on the spice trade. Constantinople thrived as the bridge between East and West. And port cities across Asia and Africa flourished as spices passed through their markets. The spice trade created the first truly global economy, linking Europe, Africa, and Asia in a network of commerce that would eventually reshape the world. Wars were fought over access to these routes, alliances were forged, and the course of history was altered by the human desire for flavor. Black pepper was once used as currency to pay taxes and ransoms. In medieval Europe, Black pepper held such value that it served as a form of currency. Peppercorns were used to pay rent, taxes, and dowries. When the Visigoths laid siege to Rome in the year 410, they demanded 3,000 pounds of pepper as part of the ransom. Landlords accepted pepper as payment from tenants, and wealthy individuals included pepper in their wills, dividing peppercorns among heirs like gold or land. This practice gave rise to the term peppercorn rent, originally referring to the actual payment of pepper, though it later came to mean any nominal payment. The reason for pepper's monetary value lay in its rarity and the difficulty of obtaining it. Pepper grew only in specific regions of India, and the long journey to Europe involved multiple middlemen, each taking their profit. By the time peppercorns reached European markets, they had traveled thousands of miles and passed through many hands. Their small size made them easy to store and transport, perfect qualities for a currency, and their universal desirability meant they could always be traded for other goods. Ancient Egyptians used spices in mummification rituals. The ancient Egyptians understood the preservative power of spices long before modern science could explain it. When preparing bodies for the afterlife, embalmers employed a sophisticated array of aromatic substances. They used cinnamon, cassia, and myrrh to perfume the body and slow decay. They stuffed cavities with packets of spices to absorb moisture and prevent bacterial growth. Frankincense was burned during the mummification process, its smoke believed to carry prayers to the gods. The dried body would be anointed with aromatic oils before being wrapped in linen. These spices did more than mask the smell of death. Many possessed antimicrobial properties that genuinely helped preserve the body. When archaeologists unwrap ancient mummies today, they can still detect the faint aroma of cinnamon and myrrh, fragrances that have lasted thousands of years. The Egyptians were so skilled in their craft that their mummies remain intact, a testament to the preservative power of spices and the sophistication of ancient knowledge. Saffron threads must be hand-picked from delicate crocus flowers. Saffron holds the distinction of being the world's most expensive spice, and one taste reveals why. Each crimson thread is actually the stigma of the Crocus sativus flower, a delicate purple bloom that flowers for only 1 week each year. To obtain saffron, workers must harvest these flowers at dawn, before the sun wilts the petals. Then, with patient hands, they extract 3 tiny stigmas from each flower. It takes approximately 70,000 flowers to produce just 1 pound of saffron. Every strand must be picked by hand, because the stigmas are too delicate for mechanical harvesting. This labor-intensive process has remained unchanged for thousands of years. The ancient Persians cultivated saffron, and it appears in the songs and poetry of classical Greece and Rome. Today, the finest saffron still comes from Iran, Spain, and Kashmir, where farmers continue the ancient traditions. A single pound can cost several $1,000s, making it worth more by weight than gold. Yet despite its price, saffron remains irreplaceable. Its distinctive golden color and subtle, complex flavor unlike anything else on earth. The crocus flowers bloom for only 2 weeks each autumn. The saffron harvest is a race against time. Each autumn, for a brief window of approximately 2 weeks, the Crocus sativus bursts into bloom. Fields that spent the entire year in quiet dormancy suddenly blaze with purple. Farmers and their families pour into the fields at dawn, working quickly before the morning sun rises too high. By mid-morning, the flowers begin to close, making harvest difficult. By afternoon, the precious stigmas start to lose their potency. This narrow harvest window means that entire communities must mobilize, dropping other work to bring in the crop. Young and old alike bend over the flowers, their fingers moving with practiced speed. In some regions, the saffron harvest is a festival, marked by traditional songs and communal meals. Once the flowers are gathered, the real work begins. Each bloom must be processed the same day, the stigmas carefully removed and dried. Miss the harvest window, and a year's crop is lost. This urgency gives the saffron harvest a unique intensity, a brief moment when time compresses and every hour matters. Ancient texts describe saffron baths that colored the water gold. In the ancient world, saffron represented the ultimate luxury. Classical texts describe how wealthy Greeks and Romans would bathe in water infused with saffron, emerging with their skin tinged golden. Cleopatra reportedly bathed in saffron-scented milk before meeting Mark Antony, believing it enhanced her beauty and charisma. In the Palace of Knossos on Crete, frescoes show women gathering saffron, evidence of its importance in Minoan culture thousands of years before Christ. Buddhist monks adopted saffron-dyed robes as their signature clothing, the golden color symbolizing enlightenment and detachment from worldly concerns. In Persia, newlyweds were showered with saffron rice to ensure a happy marriage. Medieval Europeans sprinkled saffron in their halls before important guests arrived, the crushed threads releasing their perfume when stepped upon. These practices were not mere extravagance, but reflected saffron's sacred status. To waste saffron on a bath or to walk upon it demonstrated wealth so great that even the most precious substance could be used casually. Today, such uses would be unthinkable, but they remind us that value is not inherent, but created by culture and scarcity. Vanilla pods must be hand-pollinated on farms outside Mexico. Vanilla, the second most expensive spice after saffron, requires human intervention to exist in most of the world. In its native Mexico, vanilla orchids are pollinated by a specific species of bee found only in that region. When European colonizers tried to grow vanilla elsewhere, the vines would bloom beautifully, but never produce pods. The mystery puzzled botanists for centuries. Then, in 1841, a 12-year-old enslaved boy named Edmond Albius on the island of Réunion discovered how to hand-pollinate vanilla flowers. His technique, using a small stick to lift the membrane separating the male and female parts of the flower, made commercial vanilla production possible outside Mexico. Today, farmers in Madagascar, Tahiti, and Indonesia continue this practice. Each vanilla flower blooms for only one day, and on that single day, a worker must visit and pollinate it by hand. The pollinated flower then takes 9 months to develop into a mature pod. After harvest, the pods undergo a curing process that can last several months, developing the complex flavor we associate with vanilla. Every drop of natural vanilla extract represents this careful, time-consuming work. The curing process takes 6 months of careful daily attention. Fresh vanilla pods are nothing like the aromatic beans we purchase. When first harvested, they are green, odorless, and contain none of the vanillin compounds that create vanilla's signature flavor. Transforming these plain pods into aromatic treasures requires months of careful processing. First, they are briefly blanched in hot water to stop them from growing. Then they are wrapped in blankets and placed in wooden boxes where they sweat in their own heat. Each day, workers unwrap them, allow them to air, then wrap them again. This alternating process of sweating and drying continues for weeks. Gradually, the pods turn from green to brown and begin releasing their fragrance. After the initial sweating phase, the pods are laid out in the sun for hours each day, then stored in the shade. This sun and shade routine continues for 2 to 3 months. Finally, the beans are conditioned in closed boxes for another 2 to 3 months, allowing their flavors to fully develop and equalize. Throughout this entire process, which can take 6 months or more, workers must check the beans daily for mold or uneven drying. Each vanilla bean you purchase represents half a year of daily human attention. Madagascar produces most of the world's vanilla supply. The island nation of Madagascar, off the east coast of Africa, dominates global vanilla production, supplying approximately 80% of the world's natural vanilla. The northeastern region of Sava, with its tropical climate and rich volcanic soil, provides ideal conditions for vanilla cultivation. Small family farms cover the hillsides, their vanilla vines climbing tall trees that provide necessary shade. Families have grown vanilla here for generations, passing down knowledge of when to plant, how to pollinate, and how to cure the beans to achieve the best flavor. The industry supports hundreds of thousands of Malagasy people, providing income in one of the world's poorest nations. However, this dependence on vanilla creates vulnerability. When cyclones strike, destroying crops and infrastructure, global vanilla prices can triple overnight. When international demand drops, farming families struggle to survive. In recent years, vanilla theft has become a serious problem, with thieves raiding farms before the pods fully mature. Farmers now harvest early and guard their crops at night. Despite these challenges, Madagascar's vanilla farmers continue their work, producing beans prized by chefs and perfumers worldwide for their rich, creamy flavor profile. Pepper grows on climbing vines in tropical regions. Black pepper, the most widely traded spice in the world, begins its life as a tiny flower on a climbing vine. These vines, native to the Western Ghats of India, can grow 20 feet tall or more, clinging to trees or support poles in tropical plantations. In the right conditions, a single vine can produce pepper for 40 years. The vines bloom with small white flowers that develop into clusters of round berries. These berries go through a color change as they ripen, starting green, turning yellow, then red when fully mature. The timing of harvest determines what kind of pepper you get. Pick the berries when green and unripe, dry them in the sun, and they shrivel into the familiar black peppercorns. The drying process triggers enzymes that darken the outer layer. Harvest the berries when fully ripe, remove the red outer skin, and the pale inner seed becomes white pepper. If you let some berries ripen completely and pick them at their reddest, you have rare pink peppercorns. Green peppercorns are unripe berries preserved in brine or freeze-dried. One plant, harvested at different times and processed differently, yields several distinct spices. A single peppercorn contains thousands of aromatic compounds. What makes black pepper taste like black pepper? Scientists have identified thousands of chemical compounds in peppercorns, working together to create that familiar bite and aroma. The heat comes primarily from piperine, an alkaloid that triggers the same receptors in your mouth as capsaicin from chili peppers, though much more mildly. But piperine is just one note in a complex symphony. Peppercorns contain terpenes that provide citrus and pine notes. They have pyrazines that add roasted, earthy qualities. There are aldehydes contributing floral hints, and ketones adding fruity nuances. The exact blend varies depending on where the pepper was grown. Pepper from Tellicherry in India tastes different from pepper grown in Vietnam, even though it is the same plant species. Soil, climate, and cultivation methods all influence the final flavor. When you grind peppercorns fresh, you release these aromatic compounds, which is why pre-ground pepper tastes flat compared to freshly cracked. Within minutes of grinding, the most volatile aromatic molecules evaporate, taking complexity with them. That is why a pepper mill produces such superior flavor. You are not just grinding, you are releasing freshness. Ancient Arab traders deliberately obscured pepper's true origin. For centuries, Arab merchants controlled the pepper trade between India and Europe, and they had no interest in sharing their secrets. When Europeans asked where pepper came from, traders spun elaborate tales. Pepper grew in forests guarded by venomous serpents, they said, requiring gatherers to burn the snakes away, which was why peppercorns were black and shriveled. They claimed pepper trees grew at the edge of the world, near the source of the Nile. Some said pepper came from the same mountain as the Garden of Eden. These fantastic stories served a purpose beyond entertainment. By shrouding pepper's origin in mystery and danger, merchants justified the high prices they charged. They also prevented Europeans from sailing directly to the source and cutting them out of the profitable trade. This information control worked for centuries. Only in the 15th century, when Portuguese explorers finally reached India by sailing around Africa, did Europeans discover the truth. Pepper grew in the Western Ghats, cultivated by ordinary farmers, with no serpents or Eden involved. This revelation sparked a race among European powers to establish direct trade routes, fundamentally reshaping global politics. Columbus was actually searching for black pepper when he found the Americas. When Christopher Columbus sailed west in 1492, he was not looking for a new continent. He was looking for pepper. European merchants were desperate to break the Arab and Venetian monopoly on the spice trade. They knew spices came from the east, from India, and the islands beyond. Columbus believed he could reach these spice islands by sailing west, since the earth was round. When he landed in the Caribbean and encountered the indigenous Taino people, he searched frantically for signs of pepper and other valuable spices. He found none. But he did find chili peppers, which the locals used extensively in cooking. Though not true pepper at all, chilies delivered a similar heat. Columbus brought them back to Spain, calling them peppers to make his voyage seem successful. This naming confusion persists today. We still call capsicum peppers, even though they are unrelated to black pepper. The chilies Columbus introduced to Europe spread rapidly across the globe, transforming cuisines from Korea to Hungary. So while Columbus failed to find what he was looking for, he inadvertently triggered a different spice revolution, one that would eventually touch nearly every culture on Earth. Nutmeg and mace come from the same tropical fruit. On the Banda Islands in Indonesia, trees produce a fruit that yields two distinct spices. The tree, Myristica fragrans, grows 30 to 60 feet tall and takes 7 years to bear fruit. When ripe, the fruit splits open to reveal a glossy, dark seed covered by a lacy, bright red coating. The seed itself is nutmeg. The red covering is mace. Both are dried and sold separately, though they share similar warm, sweet flavors. Mace is generally more delicate and subtle, while nutmeg is stronger and more pungent. In the past, these two spices drove some of history's most ruthless colonial competition. The Banda Islands were the only place on Earth where nutmeg grew naturally. Whoever controlled those islands controlled the nutmeg trade. In the 17th century, the Dutch East India Company seized the Banda Islands and implemented horrific policies to maintain their monopoly. They killed or enslaved most of the indigenous population and destroyed nutmeg trees on other islands to prevent competition. Later, a Frenchman smuggled nutmeg seeds to Mauritius, breaking the monopoly. Today, nutmeg grows throughout the tropics, but the original nutmeg forests of the Banda Islands remain a reminder of spice's dark history. Medieval Europeans believed nutmeg could ward off the plague. During the devastating plague outbreaks that swept through Europe in the 14th century, people tried everything to protect themselves from the mysterious disease. Nutmeg became one of the most sought-after remedies. People believed that wearing a pouch of nutmeg around the neck would prevent infection. Physicians prescribed nutmeg in various preparations. mixed with wine or ground into pastes. The wealthy carried carved silver pomanders, ornate spheres with compartments holding nutmeg, cloves, and other spices. They would hold these to their noses when passing through dangerous areas, believing the strong aromas would filter the bad air that supposedly carried plague. Of course, nutmeg did not prevent plague. We now know the disease was caused by bacteria spread by fleas on rats, but nutmeg's perceived protective power drove up demand and prices to astronomical levels. A single nutmeg could be worth several sheep. This belief persisted for centuries. Even as late as the 17th century, Samuel Pepys recorded in his famous diary that he bought nutmeg to ward off plague during an outbreak in London. Though medically useless against the disease, nutmeg did provide psychological comfort in terrifying times. A single nutmeg tree can produce fruit for 70 years. Nutmeg trees are among the longest-lived spice plants, with individuals remaining productive for decades. Once a tree begins bearing fruit at 7 or 8 years old, it can continue for 60 or 70 years, sometimes longer. A mature tree can yield up to 2,000 nutmegs per year. The trees fruit year-round in tropical climates, though production peaks during certain seasons. Harvesting requires climbing the tall trees or using long poles to knock down ripe fruits. The yellow, fleshy outer part of the fruit is edible and sometimes made into jam or candy in nutmeg-growing regions, though it is rarely exported. After harvest, workers carefully remove the mace coating, which is pressed flat and dried to a golden orange color. The inner seed is dried slowly, sometimes over smoldering fires, for weeks until the kernel rattles inside its shell. Then the shell is cracked open to reveal the nutmeg seed. This is why genuine whole nutmeg has a papery outer coating, and why freshly grated nutmeg tastes so much better than pre-ground. Those aromatic oils, locked inside the seed, stay fresh for years, when whole but quickly fade once exposed to air. Cloves are actually dried flower buds picked before blooming. The clove tree, native to the Maluku Islands in Indonesia, produces small flower buds that look unremarkable when fresh, but picked at just the right moment, before the flowers open and dried in the sun, these buds become one of the world's most powerful spices. Clove trees can grow to 40 feet tall and live for more than 100 years. They produce flowers twice a year, during which time workers must carefully monitor the buds. Pick them too early, and they lack flavor. Wait too long, and they flower, becoming useless for the spice trade. The ideal harvest window is brief. Workers climb the trees or use long poles to gather the buds, which are then spread on mats to dry. Over several days, they transform from pale pink to the dark reddish-brown we recognize. The name clove comes from the Latin word clavus, meaning nail, because dried cloves resemble small nails. When you look at a clove closely, you can still see its flower structure, the rounded head where petals would have emerged, and the nail-like stem that attached it to the branch. Each clove was once a flower that never got to bloom. Clove oil is 50 times stronger than the spice itself. If you have ever bitten into a whole clove in a pot of rice or stew, you know its intensity. That powerful, almost numbing sensation comes from eugenol, the primary compound in cloves. In whole clove form, this compound is contained within the dried bud structure, but extract the essential oil from cloves, concentrating all those compounds, and you have one of the most potent substances in the spice world. Clove essential oil is so strong that it must be diluted before use. A single drop in your mouth would burn, yet throughout history, people have used this intensity therapeutically. Dentists have long used clove oil as a natural anesthetic. Its numbing properties make it effective for toothaches. In traditional medicine across Asia, clove oil has been used to treat everything from nausea to fungal infections. Modern research confirms that eugenol does possess antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties. However, the oil must be used carefully. Undiluted clove oil can damage skin and mucous membranes. This potency is why a little goes a long way. A single clove can flavor an entire pot of food. Too many, and the dish becomes medicinal rather than delicious. Ancient Chinese courtiers held cloves in their mouths before addressing the emperor. In ancient China, during the Han Dynasty more than 2,000 years ago, protocol demanded extraordinary respect when approaching the emperor. Officials and courtiers who would speak in the emperor's presence were required to hold cloves in their mouths, ensuring their breath was sweet and inoffensive. This practice continued through many dynasties, making cloves an essential commodity for anyone with imperial business. The demand was so consistent that cloves became a standard trade item along the Silk Road, traveling from their Indonesian origin across Asia to China. Chinese medical texts from this period also describe using cloves to freshen breath and treat dental problems, knowledge that would eventually spread westward. This ancient practice reveals sophisticated understanding of herbs and aromatics. Cloves did more than mask bad breath. The eugenol they contain actually kills the bacteria that cause mouth odors. So while the courtiers believed they were simply following etiquette, they were also using an effective antimicrobial agent. Today, many natural toothpastes and mouthwashes still contain clove oil, continuing a tradition that began thousands of years ago in Chinese imperial courts. The Dutch once traded Manhattan Island for a tiny Nutmeg Island. In 1667, the Treaty of Breda ended a war between England and the Netherlands. Among the territories exchanged was a small island called Run in the Banda Archipelago, one of the precious Nutmeg Islands. The Dutch valued this speck of land so highly that they offered to trade several territories to get it, including their claims to an island in North America called Manhattan. The English agreed. At the time, this seemed like a shrewd deal for the Dutch. Run, though tiny, was worth a fortune due to its nutmeg trees. Manhattan was a struggling colonial outpost with a few hundred settlers, offering no obvious wealth. Nutmeg commanded prices that made controlling its source incredibly profitable. Within years, however, the calculus began to shift. The Dutch monopoly on nutmeg would eventually be broken by smuggling and cultivation elsewhere. Meanwhile, the island the English called New York grew into one of the world's most valuable pieces of real estate. Today, Manhattan's land alone is worth trillions of dollars. Run remains a quiet island. Its nutmeg trees still there but no longer particularly valuable. This trade has become legendary, a reminder of how value changes over time and how the certainties of one era can seem absurd to another. Cardamom pods must be harvested at exactly the right moment. Cardamom, the third most expensive spice after saffron and vanilla, requires precise timing for harvest. The plants grow in tropical forests, producing clusters of small pods that develop over several months. If picked too early, the pods lack flavor. Wait too long, and they split open, spilling their seeds and becoming worthless for sale. The ideal moment is when the pods are still closed but fully mature, their skin beginning to turn pale yellow-green. On large cardamom plantations, workers check the plants every few days during harvest season, carefully examining each pod cluster. When ready, the pods are snipped off with scissors, one by one. After harvest, the pods must be dried carefully to preserve their color and prevent them from opening. Some are dried in the sun, others in special drying rooms. The entire process requires constant attention and expertise. In the cardamom-growing regions of Guatemala and India, families develop an eye for harvest timing over years of practice. They can walk through their plots and instantly identify which pods are ready. This specialized knowledge, passed from parent to child, is as valuable as the spice itself. Each cardamom pod contains 12 to 20 tiny seeds. When you crack open a cardamom pod, you find a cluster of small, dark seeds clinging together. These tiny seeds contain the spice's essential oils and flavor compounds. The pod itself is papery and adds little taste, though it is often left whole in cooking for convenience. The seeds are what give cardamom its distinctive, cool, sweet, and slightly lemony flavor. In Middle Eastern and Indian cooking, cardamom is often added whole to rice dishes or stews, allowing the pods to release their flavor slowly. In Scandinavian countries, where cardamom is beloved in baking, the seeds are usually removed from the pods and ground fresh. Pre-ground cardamom loses its potency quickly because the volatile oils evaporate. This is why most serious cooks buy cardamom in pod form and crack them open as needed. The seeds inside stay fresh for months, protected by their pod. Some varieties have green pods, others have black, and there is also white cardamom, which is simply green cardamom that has been bleached. Black cardamom is a different species altogether, with a smoky flavor that comes from the drying process over open fires. Ancient Romans imported cardamom from thousands of miles away. In ancient Rome, cardamom was treasured for its use in perfumes and medicines as much as for cooking. Roman texts describe it as coming from the distant east, carried over thousands of miles of trade routes. The journey began in the forests of southern India, where cardamom grew wild. Local gatherers collected it and sold it to merchants, who transported it to ports on India's western coast. There, it was loaded onto ships that would sail across the Arabian Sea, braving monsoons and pirates. The spice would reach Arabian ports, where it joined camel caravans crossing deserts to reach Mediterranean markets. By the time cardamom reached Rome, it had passed through numerous hands, each adding their markup. This journey could take a year or more, yet Romans paid willingly. They used cardamom to scent their hair and clothes, to flavor wine, and in medicines for digestive complaints. The physician Dioscorides included cardamom in his pharmacopoeia, recommending it for everything from bladder problems to bites from venomous creatures. That Romans would pay such high prices for something with no obvious necessity shows how deeply they valued exotic aromatics. Coffee and cardamom are traditional partners in Middle Eastern cultures. Throughout the Arab world, coffee is rarely served without cardamom. This pairing goes back centuries to when coffee first began spreading from Ethiopia and Yemen across the Middle East. The addition of cardamom serves multiple purposes. It softens coffee's bitterness, adds complexity to its flavor, and according to tradition, counteracts some of coffee's stimulating effects. In Saudi Arabia and the Gulf states, preparing cardamom coffee is an important ritual. Green cardamom pods are roasted lightly, then ground with coffee beans. The mixture is boiled to create a light, aromatic brew served in small cups. Offering this coffee to guests is a sign of hospitality and respect. The ratio of cardamom to coffee varies by region and personal preference. Some like just a hint. Others prefer it strong enough that cardamom becomes the dominant flavor. In some traditions, the cardamom pods are simply added whole to the coffee pot, releasing their oils slowly. This pairing has spread beyond the Middle East. In India, masala chai includes cardamom as a key spice. Even in Western coffee shops, cardamom lattes have become fashionable, introducing new audiences to to this ancient combination, the science of flavor. Spices are concentrated packages of plant defense chemicals. When you taste the heat of black pepper or the sharp bite of ginger, you're experiencing something that plants developed as a defense mechanism. Many spices come from seeds, bark, or roots, the parts of plants most vulnerable to being eaten by insects, fungi, and animals. To protect these vital structures, plants evolved to produce chemical compounds that taste bad or cause burning sensations. Capsaicin in chili peppers triggers pain receptors. Piperine in black pepper does the same, though more mildly. The phenols in cloves and cinnamon are naturally antimicrobial, killing bacteria and fungi that might rot the plant tissue. These compounds are the plant's immune system, its chemical warfare against threats. Humans, with our strange palates, find these defense chemicals delicious. We actively seek out the very sensations that are meant to repel us. We have bred plants to produce more of these compounds, turning a defense mechanism into a global industry. When you sprinkle pepper on your food or add cinnamon to your coffee, you are enjoying the plant kingdom's weapons. The chemistry of taste. Heat from spices is not actually a taste, but a pain signal. When you bite into a chili pepper or add too much black pepper to your soup, your mouth feels like it is burning. Interestingly, this sensation is not a taste in the traditional sense. The 5 basic tastes, sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and umami, are detected by taste buds on your tongue. But the heat from spices activates a completely different system. Compounds like capsaicin and piperine trigger pain receptors called TRPV1, which normally respond to actual heat and physical abrasion. Your brain cannot tell the difference between chemical activation and real burning. This is why spicy food feels hot, even though the food itself is not changing temperature. Different cultures have different tolerance for this sensation. Regular consumption of spicy food leads to a gradual desensitization, allowing people to enjoy higher levels of heat. Interestingly, mammals feel this burn, but birds do not. Chili plants evolved capsaicin to deter mammals from eating their fruits, while allowing birds to consume them and spread their seeds over long distances. Only humans deliberately seek out this defensive pain response for pleasure. Warming spices like cinnamon actually increase blood flow. When recipes describe spices as warming, they are not just being poetic. Spices like cinnamon, ginger, and black pepper genuinely increase your body temperature slightly. They do this by improving circulation and increasing blood flow. Compounds in these spices cause blood vessels to dilate, allowing more blood to flow through them. This brings warmth to your extremities and gives that cozy, heated feeling. In traditional medicine systems like Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, these warming spices are prescribed specifically for people who tend to feel cold or have poor circulation. Modern research confirms that ginger, in particular, can raise core body temperature measurably. This effect is why mulled wine and chai taste especially comforting on cold days. The spices are not just flavoring the drink, they are actively warming you from the inside. It is also why many cold remedies include ginger or cinnamon. Beyond any direct effects on illness, these spices make you feel warmer and more comfortable, which itself can be therapeutic when you are feeling under the weather. Turmeric contains compounds that can cross the blood-brain barrier. Turmeric has been used in traditional medicine for thousands of years, particularly in India, where it is considered sacred. Modern science has taken a deep interest in this golden spice, particularly in curcumin, its primary active compound. Research has shown that curcumin can cross the blood-brain barrier, a selective filter that prevents most substances from reaching the brain. This ability makes curcumin unusual among dietary compounds and has led to extensive research on its potential effects on brain health. Studies have investigated whether curcumin might influence mood, memory, and neurodegenerative diseases. While research continues and many claims remain unproven, the basic fact that a common spice can interact with brain chemistry is remarkable. In traditional Indian medicine, turmeric milk, called golden milk, has long been given to promote mental clarity and calm. Modern consumers have embraced this tradition, with golden milk lattes appearing in cafes worldwide. Whether the effects are chemical, cultural, or simply the comfort of a warm, spiced drink, turmeric's golden glow has become associated with wellness and mindfulness. Black pepper can increase the absorption of other compounds. Black pepper does more than add flavor to food. The piperine it contains has a remarkable ability to enhance the bioavailability of other substances. Bioavailability means how much of a compound your body can actually absorb and use. Many beneficial compounds pass through your digestive system without being absorbed. Piperine inhibits certain enzymes in your gut and liver that would otherwise break down these compounds before they enter your bloodstream. This effect is so significant that piperine can increase the absorption of some substances by 2,000%. This is particularly important for curcumin from turmeric, which has poor bioavailability on its own. When turmeric is combined with black pepper, as it traditionally is in many Indian dishes, the curcumin becomes far more accessible to your body. This is one of those beautiful examples where traditional food combinations, developed over centuries, turn out to have scientific basis. Cooks in India were not thinking about bioavailability when they added pepper to their turmeric-spiced dishes, but they were unknowingly optimizing the nutritional value of their food. Star anise and aniseed taste similar but come from different plants. Despite their similar names and shared licorice-like flavor, star anise and aniseed come from completely unrelated plants on opposite sides of the world. Aniseed comes from a flowering plant in the parsley family, native to the Mediterranean. Star anise comes from an evergreen tree native to China and Vietnam. The tree produces star-shaped fruits, each point containing a seed. Both contain anethole, the compound responsible for that distinctive licorice flavor. This is an example of convergent evolution, where unrelated organisms develop similar traits independently. In cooking, they can often be substituted for each other, though star anise has a more robust flavor. In Chinese cuisine, star anise is one of the 5 spices in 5-spice powder, along with cinnamon, cloves, fennel, and Sichuan pepper. It stars in braised dishes and is essential for authentic pho broth. Aniseed, meanwhile, is more common in Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cooking, used in breads, cookies, and the famous Greek spirit ouzo. Star anise has another important use beyond cooking. It contains shichimic acid, a compound used in the production of antiviral medications, making it medically valuable as well as culinary. Ginger's heat comes from gingerol, a compound similar to capsaicin. When you bite into fresh ginger, the sharp, pungent heat you feel comes from gingerol, a chemical compound that activates the same pain receptors as capsaicin. However, gingerol behaves differently. While capsaicin's heat builds and persists, gingerol's bite is sharp but fades quickly. When ginger is cooked or dried, gingerol converts into other compounds. Zingerone forms during cooking, giving cooked ginger a sweeter, less sharp flavor. Shogol forms in dried ginger, and it is actually hotter than gingerol, which is why dried ginger powder tastes more intensely spicy than fresh. This chemical transformation is why fresh ginger, pickled ginger, and dried ginger powder all taste distinctly different, despite coming from the same root. In traditional medicine, ginger has been used to treat nausea, and modern research supports this use. The compounds in ginger appear to affect the digestive system and inner ear in ways that can reduce motion sickness and morning sickness. Ginger has been used for millennia in Asian cuisine and medicine, and it remains one of the few traditional remedies that modern science widely accepts as effective. Saffron's golden color comes from crocin, a powerful antioxidant. The brilliant yellow gold that saffron imparts to food comes from crocin, a carotenoid compound that is also a potent antioxidant. Just a few strands of saffron can color an entire pot of rice. This powerful pigment dissolves in water and oil, spreading its color evenly throughout a dish. Historically, saffron was used as a fabric dye, though it was far too expensive for common use. Royal robes and religious garments were sometimes dyed with saffron, the golden color symbolizing divinity and wealth. The same compound that makes saffron valuable in cooking makes it interesting to scientists studying health. Antioxidants neutralize free radicals, unstable molecules that can damage cells. While eating saffron is not a magic health solution, traditional medicine systems have long valued it. In ancient Persia, saffron was used to treat everything from heart problems to depression. Modern research continues to investigate these traditional uses, trying to separate folklore from genuine effect. Whether saffron's benefits are physical, psychological, or simply the joy of eating something so beautiful and rare, its golden threads have enchanted humanity for thousands of years. Mustard seeds are mild until crushed and mixed with liquid. Dry mustard seeds have almost no flavor or heat. You could chew a whole yellow mustard seed and barely taste anything. But crush those same seeds and mix them with water or vinegar, and suddenly you have the sharp, nose-tingling heat of prepared mustard. This transformation happens because of enzymes. Intact mustard seeds contain two separate compounds stored in different parts of the seed. When the seed is crushed, these compounds mix and react, producing isothiocyanates, the chemicals responsible for mustard's pungent bite. This reaction requires moisture to occur, which is why dried mustard powder must be mixed with liquid before it develops heat. Interestingly, the type of liquid you use affects the result. Cold water produces the sharpest, hottest mustard. Vinegar slows the reaction, producing a milder but longer-lasting heat. Hot water stops the reaction almost immediately, producing bland mustard. This is why recipes for homemade mustard specify particular liquids and temperatures. You are not just mixing ingredients, you are conducting a chemical reaction. Horseradish and wasabi produce their heat differently than chili peppers. When you eat horseradish or wasabi, the sensation is completely different from eating chili peppers. While chili heat builds in your mouth and throat, the sharp sting of horseradish and wasabi shoots straight up into your nasal passages. This difference comes from the type of compound involved. Horseradish and wasabi contain isothiocyanates, the same family of compounds found in mustard. These molecules are volatile, meaning they easily evaporate into the air. When you eat horseradish, the isothiocyanates vaporize and travel up the back of your throat into your nasal cavity, where they trigger pain receptors. This creates that distinctive head-clearing sensation. The heat dissipates quickly because the compounds evaporate and diffuse. Meanwhile, capsaicin from chili peppers is not volatile. It stays in your mouth, binding to pain receptors there and creating persistent heat. This is why drinking water does little for chili pepper burn. It just spreads the oil around, but helps with horseradish heat. It washes away the compounds before they vaporize. True wasabi root is rare and expensive, so most wasabi served in restaurants is actually horseradish dyed green, which is why they taste so similar. Fresh herbs lose their potency quickly, while dried spices last years. Fresh herbs like basil, cilantro, and parsley are wonderful in cooking, but their aromatic compounds are fragile. These volatile oils evaporate quickly when exposed to air and heat. This is why fresh herbs are usually added at the end of cooking, and why they wilt and lose flavor within days of being picked. Spices, on the other hand, are designed by nature to last. They come from seeds, bark, and roots, plant parts, meant to survive dormancy and harsh conditions. The compounds they contain are more stable, protected within tough cell walls. Whole spices can maintain their potency for years if stored properly, away from light, heat, and moisture. Once ground, however, spices begin losing flavor steadily as their aromatic compounds oxidize and evaporate. This is why whole spices stay fresh much longer than ground, and why serious cooks invest in spice grinders. You can store whole cumin seeds for 3 or 4 years and still have them taste vibrant when freshly ground. But a jar of pre-ground cumin might taste dusty and flat after just 6 months. The difference between fresh ground and stale pre-ground spices can transform a dish from mediocre to extraordinary. Fennel seeds aid digestion by relaxing smooth muscle. In many cultures, particularly in India, it is common to chew fennel seeds after a meal. This is not just a breath freshener, though fennel does leave a pleasant, licorice-like taste. Fennel seeds contain compounds that act as carminatives, substances that help prevent and relieve gas. They work by relaxing the smooth muscles of the gastrointestinal tract, allowing trapped gas to pass more easily. The compounds in fennel also stimulate the production of digestive juices, helping your stomach break down food more efficiently. This traditional practice has been validated by modern research, which confirms that fennel can reduce bloating and discomfort after eating. In medieval Europe, fennel was one of 9 sacred herbs believed to have powerful healing properties. It was recommended for everything from poor eyesight to snakebite, though most of these uses lacked real efficacy. But the digestive benefits were genuine, and they remain the main reason fennel seeds are offered after meals in Indian restaurants worldwide. This is a case where traditional wisdom, passed down through generations, turns out to have solid physiological basis. Fenugreek seeds smell like maple syrup when toasted. Fenugreek is a spice with a peculiar characteristic. When raw, the small, golden brown seeds have a bitter, almost unpleasant taste. But toast them gently in a dry pan, and they transform. The heat triggers chemical reactions that develop rich, complex flavors and a surprising aroma, almost exactly like maple syrup. This is because fenugreek contains a compound called sotalol, which is also responsible for maple syrup's distinctive smell. In fact, artificial maple flavoring often includes fenugreek extract. This transformation through toasting is why fenugreek appears so often in spice blends that are toasted before use, like Indian panchphoron or Ethiopian berbere. The toasting process is delicate. Too little heat, and the seeds remain bitter. Too much, and they burn, turning acrid. When done correctly, fenugreek adds a wonderful depth to dishes, a slightly sweet, nutty foundation that supports other flavors. Fenugreek seeds are also used in traditional medicine and are believed to have various health benefits. Nursing mothers sometimes consume fenugreek to increase milk production, a traditional use that has some support from modern studies, though the evidence is not conclusive. Sumac berries are dried and ground to create a tart, lemony spice. In Middle Eastern cuisine, sumac is prized for the bright, citrusy tang it adds to food. This deep red powder comes from the dried berries of the sumac bush, which grows wild throughout the Mediterranean and Middle East. Not all sumac species are safe to eat. Some are toxic, but the culinary varieties have been used safely for thousands of years. The berries are harvested when ripe, dried in the sun, then ground into a coarse powder. The result tastes remarkably similar to lemon juice, but without adding moisture to a dish. This makes sumac perfect for seasoning things where you want acidity without liquid, like grilled meats or salads. In Lebanon, sumac is an essential component of za'atar, a spice blend mixed with thyme and sesame seeds. This mixture is stirred into olive oil and used as a dip for bread. In Turkey, sumac is sprinkled over onion salads to cut their sharpness. The beautiful red color adds visual appeal as well as flavor. Before lemons became widely available in the Middle East, sumac was the primary souring agent in cooking, a role it has maintained even in the age of abundant citrus. Amchur powder brings acidity to Indian dishes without moisture. In Indian cooking, particularly in northern regions, dried mango powder, called Amchur, serves as a souring agent. Raw green mangoes are peeled, sliced, dried in the sun, then ground into a fine beige powder with a fruity, tangy taste. Amchur provides acidity similar to lemon juice or tamarind, but in dry form. This matters in dishes where adding liquid would ruin the texture. For instance, when making dry vegetable curries or stuffing for breads, you want tartness without wetness. Amchur provides exactly that. It has a gentler, fruitier acidity than vinegar or citrus, with subtle sweetness underneath the sour. Beyond its culinary use, Amchur demonstrates the Indian tradition of preserving seasonal abundance for year-round use. Mangoes flood markets during summer, far more than can be eaten fresh. Drying them ensures nothing goes to waste and provides cooks with mango flavor even in winter. This tradition of preserving fruits and vegetables as powders extends to other ingredients as well. Dried pomegranate seeds, dried kokum, and dried tamarind all serve similar purposes, each with its own distinct flavor profile and traditional uses. Asafoetida is one of the strongest smelling spices on earth. Open a container of Asafoetida, also called hing, and you will recoil. The smell is overwhelming, sulfurous, something like rotting onions mixed with old feet. Yet this pungent resin, derived from the roots of a giant fennel species, is beloved in Indian cooking, particularly in vegetarian cuisine. The magic happens when Asafoetida hits hot oil. Heat transforms its off-putting raw smell into a delicious, savory, onion-garlic aroma. In regions where religious dietary restrictions prohibit onions and garlic, Asafoetida provides a similar flavor. Just a pinch is sufficient. Too much will overwhelm a dish. The resin comes in chunks or powder form, and the powder is usually mixed with rice flour or wheat flour to make it easier to handle. Pure Asafoetida is so potent that it must be stored in airtight containers, or it will permeate everything nearby. In ancient Rome, Asafoetida was highly valued, used both in cooking and as a medicine. The Romans called it laser or laser pitium, and they used it so extensively that they drove the North African variety extinct. Today, most Asafoetida comes from Iran and Afghanistan, where the plants still grow wild. Grains of paradise taste like pepper with floral and citrus notes. This West African spice, also called guinea pepper or meligeta pepper, is not related to black pepper, but produces a similar heat. The small brown seeds come from a plant in the ginger family and have a complex flavor profile, peppery heat with notes of cardamom, citrus, and flowers. Grains of paradise were popular in medieval European cooking before black pepper became affordable and available. They seasoned meats, flavored wine, and appeared in spice blends. Then, as black pepper prices dropped, grains of paradise fell out of favor in Europe and nearly disappeared from Western cuisine. Recently, adventurous chefs have rediscovered this spice, attracted by its unique flavor. It pairs particularly well with seafood and fruit, In West Africa, where the spice originates, it has never stopped being used. It flavors soups and stews and appears in traditional ceremonies. The name Grains of Paradise reflects the high value Europeans once placed on it, considering it precious enough to be associated with paradise itself. Today, specialty spice shops stock it for curious cooks who want to explore beyond the common spices. The cultural journey. Turmeric stains everything it touches a brilliant yellow-orange. Anyone who has cooked with fresh turmeric root knows its remarkable staining power. The bright orange pigment, primarily curcumin, binds tenaciously to almost any surface. It will stain your cutting board, your hands, your clothes, and your countertops. This property has been exploited for millennia. In India and other parts of Asia, turmeric has been used as a fabric dye, creating vibrant yellow and orange cloth. It cannot match synthetic dyes for color fastness. The color fades with washing and sun exposure, but for temporary dyes or ceremonial use, turmeric works beautifully. In Hindu weddings, turmeric paste is applied to the bride and groom's skin in a ceremony called haldi. The golden color is believed to bless the couple and give them a healthy glow. The staining is temporary on skin, fading after a few days, but dramatic enough to be visible. This same staining property makes turmeric useful as a pH indicator in science education. When turmeric-dyed paper encounters an alkaline substance, it changes from yellow to red, a simple and vivid demonstration of chemistry. In India, turmeric is considered sacred and auspicious. Turmeric holds deep cultural and religious significance in India, beyond its culinary uses. It is considered purifying and is used in countless rituals and ceremonies. Hindu temples use turmeric in worship, mixing it into paste for anointing deities. At weddings, turmeric ceremonies are mandatory, preparing the bride and groom for their new life. It appears in birth ceremonies, coming-of-age rituals, and even funeral rites. In some regions, turmeric is tied around the wrists of married women as a sign of their status. Fresh turmeric root is sometimes placed in foundations when building houses, blessing the structure. This reverence has ancient roots. Turmeric appears in Ayurvedic texts thousands of years old, prescribed for purifying the body and balancing its energies. Modern Hindu households keep turmeric in the prayer room alongside incense and flowers. This cultural embedding means that for millions of people, turmeric is not just a spice, but a connection to tradition, identity, and spirituality. When you use turmeric in cooking, you are participating in a practice that has remained essentially unchanged for thousands of years. Berbere is Ethiopia's complex spice blend with over a dozen ingredients. Ethiopian cuisine is famous for its rich, complex flavors, and Berbere spice blend is central to achieving them. This mixture typically contains at least 10 to 15 spices, sometimes more. The exact composition varies by region and family, with recipes passed down through generations. Common ingredients include chili peppers for heat, Fenugreek for depth, coriander and cumin for earthiness, cardamom and cinnamon for sweetness, ginger for bite, and black pepper for additional heat. Some versions include cloves, allspice, nutmeg, and ajwain seeds. The spices are often toasted separately to develop their flavors before being ground together. Making authentic berbere is time-consuming, requiring careful attention to proportions and techniques. The result is a spice blend that is simultaneously spicy, warm, earthy, and slightly sweet, with incredible depth. Berbere is the foundation of Doro Wat, the national dish of Ethiopia, a rich chicken stew. It seasons lentils, vegetables, and grilled meats. Having a batch of well-made berbere on hand allows Ethiopian cooks to create complex dishes relatively quickly. the blend doing the work of many separate additions. Japanese shichimi togarashi combines 7 flavors in one blend. In Japan, this 7-spice mixture called shichimi togarashi, or simply shichimi, appears on tables alongside soy sauce. The blend typically includes red chili pepper, sansho pepper, roasted orange peel, black sesame seeds, white sesame seeds, hemp seeds, and nori seaweed. Some versions replace hemp with poppy seeds or add ground ginger. The combination creates a complex seasoning that is spicy, citrusy, nutty, and slightly oceanic all at once. It is sprinkled on noodle soups, rice bowls, and grilled meat. The exact proportions vary by maker, and aficionados have favorite shops where they buy their shichimi, much like coffee enthusiasts have preferred roasters. Some specialty shops in Japan have been making shichimi for centuries, using traditional methods and secret recipes. The blend reflects Japanese culinary philosophy of achieving balance and complexity through simplicity. Rather than heavily spicing a dish during cooking, the shichimi allows each diner to adjust their own seasoning, adding as much or as little as suits their taste. This respect for individual preference while maintaining traditional flavor profiles is characteristic of Japanese food culture. Ras el hanout means head of the shop in Arabic. This North African spice blend's name translates to head of the shop, indicating the best spices a merchant has to offer. There is no standard recipe for Ras el hanout. Each spice merchant creates their own version, and traditionally these were closely guarded secrets. A good Ras el hanout might contain 12 spices, or over 30. Common ingredients include cardamom, cumin, cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, mace, allspice, coriander seeds, paprika, fenugreek, and black pepper. Some versions include dried rose petals, lavender, or even Spanish fly, though this latter ingredient is now illegal in most places. The complexity of Ras el hanout allows it to season dishes on its own. Moroccan tagines, slow-cooked stews of meat and vegetables, rely heavily on this blend. It also appears in couscous, rice dishes, and grilled meats. Making Ras el hanout requires not just collecting spices, but understanding how they interact, which flavors emerge when combined, and how heat and time will develop them. Master spice blenders develop this knowledge over decades. When you buy authentic Ras el hanout from a good source, you are purchasing the result of a lifetime's expertise. Chinese 5-spice powder achieves perfect balance. In traditional Chinese medicine and cooking, balance is essential. 5-spice powder embodies this philosophy by combining 5 flavors: sweet, sour, bitter, salty, and umami, represented by 5 specific spices. The standard version includes star anise for sweetness, cinnamon for warmth, Sichuan peppercorns for the numbing sensation called ma, fennel seeds for anise flavor, and cloves for intensity. Some recipes substitute cardamom or ginger. Despite being called 5-spice, recipes sometimes include more or fewer ingredients, but the name persists. This blend appears throughout Chinese cuisine, particularly in marinades for roasted and braised meats. It seasons Peking duck, Chinese barbecue pork, and many stir-fries. The 5 flavors are thought to correspond to the 5 elements of Chinese philosophy: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water, and to affect different organs in the body. Using 5-spice is therefore not just about taste, but about achieving harmony and health. The powder should smell complex, with no single spice dominating. A well-made 5-spice powder creates depth and richness that elevates simple ingredients into something special. Spices. In traditional medicine, ginger has been prescribed for nausea for over 2,000 years. Ancient Chinese medical texts from the 1st century describe using ginger to treat stomach upset and nausea. Greek and Roman physicians adopted this practice after encountering it through trade routes. Throughout the medieval period, ginger was prescribed for digestive complaints across Europe and Asia. This traditional use has stood the test of time remarkably well. Modern clinical studies confirm that ginger can effectively reduce various types of nausea, including morning sickness in pregnancy, motion sickness, and nausea from chemotherapy. The mechanisms are not completely understood, but ginger appears to work both in the digestive tract and by affecting the brain regions that control nausea. Importantly, ginger seems to work without the drowsiness that antihistamine, anti-nausea medications cause. This makes it valuable for situations where you need to remain alert. Today, ginger candies and ginger tea are commonly recommended by healthcare providers for nausea. This convergence between ancient wisdom and modern science is rare and remarkable. For once, the traditional remedy not only has proven effective, but has mechanisms that scientists can study and explain. Cinnamon was used in ancient Egyptian embalming processes. The ancient Egyptians imported cinnamon from distant lands at great expense, specifically for use in preserving their dead. Along with myrrh, frankincense, and other aromatics, cinnamon was packed into body cavities after organs were removed. The Egyptians did not understand bacteria or the chemical properties that made cinnamon antimicrobial, but they knew from experience that bodies treated with these spices decomposed more slowly and smelled better. Archaeological analysis of mummy wrappings has detected traces of cinnamon, confirming the ancient texts. The Egyptians also used cinnamon in temple rituals and medicine, but its use in mummification was particularly important because it represented investment in eternal life. Only the wealthy could afford full cinnamon treatment. Common people might receive cheaper preservatives or none at all. The fact that cinnamon was important enough to warrant such expense, shipping it thousands of miles and paying enormous prices, shows how deeply it was woven into Egyptian religion and culture. Today, when we sprinkle cinnamon on our morning oatmeal, we are using the same substance that once helped preserve pharaohs for eternity. Cloves were chewed to numb dental pain for centuries. Long before modern dentistry, people suffering from toothaches had few effective remedies. But cultures that had access to cloves discovered their remarkable numbing properties. The eugenol in cloves acts as a natural anesthetic, temporarily reducing pain in dental tissues. Medieval Europeans would place whole cloves against aching teeth or gums, letting the oils slowly release. In traditional Chinese medicine, clove oil was applied to cavities and inflamed gums. This practice spread globally wherever cloves could be obtained. Even today, dentists use eugenol-based compounds in temporary fillings and as a local anesthetic for minor procedures. The synthetic version is more refined, but the active ingredient remains essentially the same as in the whole spice. Clove oil is so effective that it appears in many over-the-counter toothache remedies. However, undiluted clove oil must be used carefully because it can irritate or damage soft tissues if applied improperly. This is a clear case where traditional medicine identified a genuinely effective treatment, one that modern medicine has validated, refined, and continues to use. The wisdom of ancient healers, learned through careful observation and passed down through generations, anticipated what chemistry would later confirm. Garlic and onion were given to pyramid builders for strength and health. Ancient Egyptian workers who built the pyramids were given rations of garlic, onions, and radishes. These alliums were believed to provide strength and ward off illness. While the Egyptians did not understand vitamins or immune function, they recognized that workers who ate these pungent vegetables seemed healthier and stronger. Garlic and onions do contain various beneficial compounds. They are rich in antioxidants and have antimicrobial properties. Garlic contains allicin, which forms when the clove is crushed and has been shown to have various health effects. In traditional medicine systems worldwide, garlic has been used to treat infections, improve circulation, and boost overall vitality. Modern research has investigated many of these traditional uses with mixed results. Some studies suggest garlic may help reduce blood pressure slightly or have mild cholesterol-lowering effects, though the evidence is not strong enough for it to replace medication. What is clear is that garlic and onions are nutritious, flavorful additions to the diet. Whether they provided pyramid workers with superhuman strength is debatable, but they certainly provided vitamins, minerals, and variety in a monotonous diet of bread and beer. Frankincense and myrrh were more than just gifts for baby Jesus. These two resins, famous from the biblical nativity story, were among the most valuable substances in the ancient world. Frankincense comes from trees in the Boswellia genus, while myrrh comes from commiphora trees. Both grow in the Arabian Peninsula and northeastern Africa. Harvesting involves cutting the bark and allowing sap to ooze out and harden into tear-shaped drops. These resins were burned as incense in temples and homes throughout the ancient world. The smoke was believed to carry prayers to the gods. Both resins were also used in medicine. Frankincense was prescribed for digestive issues and to reduce inflammation. Myrrh was used as an antiseptic and to treat wounds. Modern research has found that both resins do contain compounds with anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties, supporting some of the traditional uses. In the story of the three wise men bringing gifts to the baby Jesus, gold represents material wealth, while frankincense and myrrh represent divinity and mortality. Frankincense was used in religious ceremony, connecting the divine to the earthly. Myrrh was used in burial preparations, representing mortality and sacrifice. These gifts were therefore deeply symbolic as well as valuable. Sichuan peppercorns create a unique tingling sensation on the tongue. Sichuan peppercorns, despite their name, are not true peppercorns at all. They are the dried husks of berries from prickly ash trees native to China. When you taste them, they create a distinctive sensation that is not heat or spice in the traditional sense, but rather a tingling, almost numbing feeling, as if your tongue were being gently electrocuted. The Chinese call this sensation ma, and it is a fundamental flavor component in Sichuan cuisine. The effect comes from compounds called hydroxy-alpha sanshools, which activate touch receptors in your mouth. Your brain interprets this activation as a vibrating sensation. Research has shown that this occurs at a frequency of about 50 Hz, the same as alternating current electricity in many countries. The sensation is unusual enough that people often struggle to describe it. Some say it is like licking a 9-volt battery. Others describe it as fizzing or buzzing. Sichuan peppercorns are essential in many Chinese dishes, particularly mapo tofu, where they combine with chili peppers to create a complex sensation called mala numbing spicy. This layering of different sensory experiences is central to Sichuan cooking philosophy. Long pepper was popular before black pepper dominated. Today, black pepper is ubiquitous, but it was not always the most popular peppercorn. Long pepper, a related species with an elongated, cone-like shape, was actually preferred in ancient Greece and Rome. It was more expensive than black pepper and considered superior in flavor. Long pepper has a similar heat to black pepper, but with complex sweet and earthy notes. It appears in ancient Roman recipes, medieval European spice blends, and classical Indian curry powders. Then, as black pepper became more available and affordable, long pepper fell out of favor in European cooking. Today, it is rarely seen in Western markets. though it remains used in some Indian, Indonesian, and North African cuisines. The reasons for black pepper's triumph are practical. Black pepper vines are more productive and easier to harvest. The corns are smaller, which means more pieces per pound. And as European traders established direct connections with black pepper sources, prices dropped, while long pepper remained more expensive. Food historians find long pepper fascinating as an example of how tastes change, not just because of preference, but because of economics and availability. The spice that Roman emperors preferred simply could not compete with the better deal. Sumerian clay tablets from 4,000 years ago list cumin and coriander. Written records of spice use stretch back to the very beginning of writing itself. Sumerian cuneiform tablets from Mesopotamia, carved around 2000 BCE, list ingredients for recipes, including cumin, coriander, and other spices. These early cookbooks provide glimpses into ancient tastes. The Sumerians were sophisticated cooks who appreciated complex flavors. They created spice blends, marinades, and sauces remarkably similar to those we use today. Cumin and coriander have therefore been cultivated and traded for at least 4,000 years. Both are seeds from plants in the parsley family. Cumin has a warm, earthy flavor that is essential in cuisines from Mexico to India. Coriander seeds taste completely different from the leaves of the same plant, called cilantro in the Americas. The seeds are warm and citrusy, while the leaves are fresh and bright. That these spices appear in humanity's earliest cookbooks suggests that the desire for flavor complexity is fundamental to human nature. As soon as we could grow food reliably, we began seeking ways to make it taste better. Spices represented civilization's advance, from mere survival to the pleasure of eating. Medieval European doctors believed spices could balance bodily humors. Medieval medicine was based on the theory of the four humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Health meant keeping these humors in balance. Illness occurred when they became imbalanced. Doctors believed different foods and spices affected the humors in specific ways. Spices were classified as hot or cold, dry or moist. Pepper was considered hot and dry, useful for conditions caused by excess cold and moist phlegm. Ginger was hot and moist, appropriate for different imbalances. Nutmeg was hot and dry. Doctors would prescribe specific spices based on a patient's symptoms and constitution. While this system seems quaint today, it represented a systematic attempt to understand health and disease. It was wrong in its mechanisms, but occasionally right in its recommendations. For instance, prescribing warming spices like ginger for someone with poor circulation might genuinely make them feel better, even if the reason was increased blood flow rather than balanced humors. Medieval spice medicine reminds us that effective remedies can emerge from incorrect theories. People can observe that something works without understanding why. Ayurvedic medicine classifies spices by their effects on doshas. Ayurveda, the traditional medicine system of India, has its own framework for understanding how spices affect health. Instead of humors, Ayurveda describes three doshas: Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, which represent different types of physical and mental energy. Each person has a unique dosha balance. Foods and spices are believed to increase or decrease specific doshas. Cooling spices, like coriander, fennel, and cardamom, are recommended for people with excess pitta, characterized by heat and inflammation. Warming spices like ginger, black pepper, and cinnamon help balance vata, associated with dryness and coldness. Light, stimulating spices like turmeric help counter excess kapha, which brings heaviness and lethargy. An Ayurvedic practitioner considers not just symptoms but the whole person. prescribing spices as part of a comprehensive approach to diet and lifestyle. Modern research has investigated some Ayurvedic spice recommendations and found scientific support for some uses. Turmeric's anti-inflammatory properties, for instance, align with its traditional use for pitta reduction. Like medieval European medicine, Ayurveda developed through centuries of careful observation. While its theoretical framework differs from modern science, some of its practical recommendations have proven valuable. Cinnamon has been tested for blood sugar regulation in modern studies. Traditional medicine systems, particularly Ayurveda, have long recommended cinnamon for various metabolic issues. Modern researchers became interested when they noticed that people in cultures that consume cinnamon regularly seemed to have lower rates of diabetes. Subsequent studies have investigated whether cinnamon affects blood sugar levels. Results have been mixed. Some studies suggest that cinnamon may improve insulin sensitivity slightly, helping cells respond better to insulin and take up glucose from the blood. Other studies have found no significant effect. The scientific consensus is that cinnamon is not a treatment for diabetes and cannot replace medication. However, it may have modest beneficial effects when included as part of a healthy diet. The amount required to see any effect is more than most people consume as a flavoring, typically 1 to 6 grams per day. This would mean about 1/2 to 3 teaspoons of cinnamon powder. At such doses, cinnamon's blood-thinning properties and potential interactions with medications become concerns. This situation illustrates the complexity of moving from traditional use to evidence-based medicine. Just because something was traditionally used does not mean it is ineffective, but it also does not automatically mean it works or is safe at higher doses. Capsaicin cream is used to treat arthritis pain. The compound that makes chili peppers burn has found a surprising medical application. Capsaicin cream, applied to the skin, can reduce pain from arthritis, nerve damage, and other chronic pain conditions. This seems counterintuitive. How can something that causes burning relieve pain? The mechanism is called defunctionalization. When capsaicin repeatedly stimulates pain nerves, they eventually become depleted of the neurotransmitter they use to send pain signals. With continued application, the nerves essentially become exhausted and stop signaling. The initial application of capsaicin cream burns intensely, but with regular use, this sensation diminishes along with the underlying pain. Capsaicin patches and creams are now commonly prescribed for neuropathic pain and arthritis. This represents a remarkable journey for a plant defense compound. Chili plants evolved capsaicin to prevent mammals from eating their fruits. Humans not only eat them anyway, but have found a way to use their defensive chemistry therapeutically. It is yet another example of how the chemicals in spices, originally evolved for completely different purposes, can interact with human physiology in beneficial ways. What defends a plant can, in the right application, help a human. The spice trade routes. The Silk Road carried more than silk. Spices were equally important. When we think of the Silk Road, we imagine caravans laden with fine Chinese silk heading westward. But spices traveled this route in both directions, and they were at least as valuable as silk. From China came ginger, cassia, and star anise. From India came pepper, cinnamon, and cardamom. From the Middle East came saffron and cumin. These goods moved along the network of routes that connected East Asia to the Mediterranean, passing through countless hands. Merchants rarely traveled the entire route. Instead, goods moved in stages, sold and resold at trading posts and cities along the way. Each transaction added markup, which is why spices were so expensive by the time they reached European markets. The Silk Road was not a single path, but a web of routes, shifting based on political stability, banditry, weather, and changing dynasties. Cities along these routes, Samarkand, Bukhara, Kashgar, grew wealthy as spice trade hubs. The exchange was not just commercial, but cultural. Along with spices traveled ideas, religions, technologies, and artistic styles. Buddhism spread from India to China along these routes. Mathematical concepts flowed from the Islamic world to Europe. The Silk Road was humanity's first global network. Venice became wealthy by controlling the spice trade to Europe. In the medieval period, Venice dominated European trade with the East. Venetian merchants maintained close relationships with Arab and Byzantine traders who could access Indian Ocean spices. Venetian ships brought pepper, cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg to European markets, selling them at enormous profits. This trade made Venice one of the richest cities in Europe. The Republic of Venice built its power on spice money. The city's famous palazzos, its art treasures, its mighty fleet, all were funded largely by the markup on spices. Venetians guarded their trade routes and sources jealously, maintaining their monopoly through diplomacy, secrecy, and when necessary, force. Other European nations grew resentful of Venetian control and the high prices it allowed Venice to charge. This resentment helped drive the age of exploration. Portugal and Spain sought to reach spice sources directly by sailing around Africa or west across the Atlantic, circumventing Venice entirely. When Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama reached India by sea in 1498, Venice's monopoly was broken. Within decades, Portuguese and later Dutch traders had established direct spice routes, and Venice's golden age began to fade. The entire age of exploration, which reshaped the world, was driven significantly by the desire to access spices without paying Venetian prices. The Dutch East India Company became the world's first corporate giant through spices. In 1602, the Dutch East India Company, VOC, was founded to compete in the lucrative Asian spice trade. At its height, it became the largest company the world had ever seen, more valuable than some nations. The VOC had its own armies, its own ships, and even the power to negotiate treaties and wage war in the name of the Netherlands. Much of this power was built on controlling nutmeg and cloves from Indonesia. The company established a brutal monopoly, taking control of the Spice Islands through military force. They limited production to keep prices high. They destroyed spice trees on islands they did not control to prevent competition. They dealt ruthlessly with anyone who tried to break their monopoly. The wealth flowing into Amsterdam from spices helped make the Netherlands a global power during its golden age. Dutch traders, explorers, and colonists spread across the globe, from New Amsterdam in North America to the Cape of Good Hope in South Africa, establishing a trading empire. When the monopoly finally broke in the 18th century, as spice cultivation spread to other regions, the VOC's fortunes declined. But for nearly 2 centuries, this single corporation wielded power comparable to modern multinational companies and oil-rich nations, all built on the foundation of nutmeg and cloves. Arab traders kept spice sources secret for 1,000 years. For over a millennium, Arab merchants served as the crucial middlemen between Asian spice producers and European consumers. They knew where cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg actually came from, knowledge they kept carefully secret. When Europeans asked, Arab traders invented fantastic tales. They claimed cinnamon was gathered from giant bird nests, built of cinnamon sticks high on cliff faces. They said cassia grew in shallow lakes, guarded by winged serpents. These stories served a vital commercial purpose. They mystified the supply chain and justified high prices. If spices came from dangerous, mysterious places that required extraordinary effort to access, then of course they were expensive. European merchants had no way to verify these tales. They had never sailed to the Indian Ocean or Southeast Asia. They had to take Arab traders at their word. This information monopoly lasted until Portuguese explorers found sea routes to Asia in the late 1500s. Once Europeans could sail directly to spice sources, the veil of secrecy lifted. They discovered that cinnamon grew on ordinary trees in Ceylon, that pepper was cultivated by farmers in India, and that cloves came from specific islands in Indonesia. No giant birds, no winged serpents, just trees, farmers, and clever traders who had protected their business model through storytelling. Magellan's circumnavigation was funded by the promise of spices. When Ferdinand Magellan proposed his audacious plan to reach the Spice Islands by sailing west, his pitch to the Spanish king focused on spices. Spain was jealous of Portugal's direct access to Asian spices via the route around Africa. Magellan proposed an alternative. He would sail west across the Atlantic, find a passage through or around South America, cross the Pacific, and reach the Spice Islands from the other direction. If successful, Spain would have its own direct route. King Charles I of Spain funded the expedition. In 1519, Magellan set sail with 5 ships. The journey was catastrophic. They nearly starved crossing the Pacific, which was far larger than anyone anticipated. Magellan was killed in the Philippines. Only one ship, the Victoria, made it home 3 years later, with just 18 surviving crew members. But that ship's hold was filled with cloves. The value of those cloves was enough to cover the entire expedition's cost and still turn a profit. Despite the human tragedy, the voyage was considered a financial success because of the spices. This expedition also provided the first definitive proof that the Earth was round and could be circumnavigated. One of history's greatest achievements in exploration and science was funded by the hunger for spices. Pepper trading was so profitable it sparked actual wars. Control of the pepper trade caused conflicts throughout history. Arab groups fought among themselves for dominance of trade routes. Italian city-states like Venice, Genoa, and Pisa competed violently for trading rights. When European powers reached Asia, wars broke out over access to spice sources. The Portuguese and Dutch fought for control of Indonesian islands. The Dutch and English battled over nutmeg and cloves. One famous incident, the Amboina massacre in 1623, saw Dutch forces execute English traders accused of conspiracy, driving England out of the nutmeg trade. Later, during the Napoleonic Wars, the British seized Dutch colonies in the East Indies, specifically to control spice production. These were not minor skirmishes, but full-scale military campaigns involving thousands of soldiers and dozens of ships. All this violence over flavor. It seems absurd from a modern perspective, but in an era before refrigeration or efficient food preservation, spices had enormous practical value. They made food safer to eat, more palatable, and helped it last longer. Plus, their rarity made them status symbols. A merchant who controlled the pepper supply controlled wealth and power. Wars have been fought for less. The search for black pepper led to the colonization of much of Asia. The Portuguese quest to reach India and access pepper directly led to the establishment of colonial outposts throughout Asia. After Vasco da Gama's successful voyage in 1498, Portugal moved aggressively to establish forts and trading posts. Goa, in India, became the headquarters of Portuguese Asia. They seized Malacca in Malaysia, controlling the strait through which much of the spice trade passed. They reached the Spice Islands, cutting out Arab middlemen. Other European powers followed. The Dutch, English, French, and Spanish all established colonies in Asia, initially to participate in the spice trade. These trading posts gradually expanded into colonial territories. The British East India Company, founded to trade spices, eventually controlled much of India. The Dutch East India Company ruled Indonesia for centuries. The French colonized Vietnam and Cambodia. The motivation behind European imperialism in Asia was complex, involving power, prestige, missionary zeal, and geopolitical rivalry. But the spark that drew Europeans eastward, the initial motivation for establishing footholds in Asia, was spices, especially pepper. The colonial era that followed shaped Asian and global history profoundly, and it all began with Europeans wanting direct access to pepper. Slave labor fueled many spice plantations in colonial times. The dark underbelly of the spice trade was the exploitation and enslavement of people who cultivated and harvested these valuable crops. European colonial powers used enslaved people and forced labor extensively on spice plantations. In the Dutch East Indies, local populations were coerced into growing and harvesting spices under brutal conditions. Those who failed to meet quotas faced punishment or death. In other colonies, enslaved Africans were brought in to work spice plantations. The wealth that flowed to Europe from spices was built on incredible human suffering. The Banda Islands, source of nutmeg, saw their indigenous population nearly exterminated by the Dutch. The survivors were enslaved or expelled, and workers from elsewhere were brought in under conditions of virtual slavery. This pattern repeated across colonial spice-producing regions. The same spices that brought pleasure and wealth to European consumers represented misery and death to those forced to produce them. This history is often forgotten when we casually sprinkle spices in our cooking. The globalization of spices that we now take for granted came at an enormous human cost. It is a reminder that seemingly innocent commodities can have complicated, often tragic histories. Clove buds once fetched their weight in gold in European markets. At the height of the clove trade, before European powers broke into Asian markets, cloves were among the most expensive substances on earth. In medieval Europe, a pound of cloves could cost as much as a cow, several sheep, or a year's wages for a common laborer. Wealthy nobles might own just a few cloves, using them sparingly. Possessing a good stock of cloves marked you as extraordinarily wealthy. This high value came from multiple factors. Cloves grew naturally on only a few small islands in Indonesia, the original spice islands. The supply was therefore limited. They had to be harvested at precisely the right time by hand. Then they had to survive a journey of thousands of miles across multiple transfers before reaching Europe. Storms, pirates, disease, and war all threatened shipments. Spoilage and theft reduced what arrived. By the time a clove reached a European market, it had been handled by dozens of people, each taking profit. The final price reflected this long, dangerous journey. For modern cooks who buy jars of cloves casually at the supermarket, it is hard to imagine they were once worth their weight in gold. But for centuries, that was the reality. Modern spice production. India produces more spices than any other nation. India is the world's spice capital, both historically and in modern times. The subcontinent produces an incredible variety of spices, from black pepper and cardamom in Kerala to turmeric and chillies in Andhra Pradesh, from cumin and coriander in Gujarat to ginger in the northeast. India grows approximately 75 different spice crops. The country produces millions of tons of spices annually, more than any other nation. India is also the largest consumer of spices, using most of its production domestically. Indian cuisine relies so heavily on spices that home cooks typically keep dozens of different spices on hand. The spice box, or masala dabba, is a round stainless steel container with smaller compartments, each holding a different spice for quick access during cooking. This relationship with spices is cultural and ancient, stretching back thousands of years. The knowledge of which spices combine well, which should be toasted, which added early in cooking, or at the end, is passed down through families. Modern India's spice industry includes everything from small family farms to large commercial plantations, from traditional grinding stones to high-tech processing facilities. It is an industry built on millennial traditions. Vietnam has become the world's largest black pepper producer. While India is the historical home of black pepper, Vietnam has emerged as the dominant producer in recent decades. Vietnamese farmers began cultivating peppers seriously in the 1990s, after economic reforms allowed private enterprise. The country's climate and soil proved ideal for pepper cultivation. Production expanded rapidly. By the 2000s, Vietnam had overtaken India as the world's top pepper exporter. Today, Vietnam produces approximately 1/3 of the world's pepper. The industry provides income for hundreds of thousands of farming families, particularly in provinces like Binh Phuoc and Dong Nai. Vietnamese pepper has a strong, pungent flavor that has found favor in international markets. The rapid rise of Vietnamese pepper production shows how quickly agricultural dominance can shift. For thousands of years, Indian pepper ruled the trade. Now, a relative newcomer has taken the lead. Not by any special secret, but simply by efficient farming, favorable conditions, and timing. It also demonstrates how spice production has become a true global industry, with supply chains spanning continents and market forces affecting farmers in remote villages. Indonesia remains the primary source of nutmeg, cloves, and mace. Despite attempts to break their monopoly over the centuries, Indonesia still dominates production of the original Spice Island treasures. The Maluku Islands, particularly Banda for nutmeg and ternate, and Tidore for cloves, continue producing these spices. Modern Indonesia has expanded cultivation to other islands, but the original areas retain their reputations for quality. Indonesian nutmeg is considered superior, with a fuller, more complex flavor than nutmeg grown elsewhere. Indonesian cloves are prized by quality-conscious buyers. This enduring dominance is partly environmental. The islands have ideal growing conditions that are hard to replicate, but it is also cultural. Centuries of cultivation have created deep expertise. Farmers know their trees intimately, understanding the subtle signs of health or disease, the best harvest times, and the optimal drying methods. This knowledge cannot be easily transferred. Attempts to establish nutmeg and clove production elsewhere have succeeded to varying degrees, but Indonesia maintains its leadership. The same islands that drew European colonizers with violent intent centuries ago now participate in global trade peacefully. But their spices remain as valued as ever. Madagascar's vanilla industry employs hundreds of thousands of people. In northeastern Madagascar, vanilla is not just a crop, but the foundation of the economy. The Sava region's farmers, curers, and traders all depend on vanilla for their livelihoods. When vanilla prices are high, the region prospers. Children attend school, new houses are built, and communities thrive. When prices crash, as they periodically do, due to overproduction or decreased demand, the region suffers. This boom and bust cycle creates instability, but there are few alternatives. The Northeast lacks major industries and infrastructure. Vanilla is the cash crop that connects remote villages to the global market. Farmers typically grow vanilla alongside other crops like coffee, rice, and fruit trees, providing some diversification. But vanilla, when prices are good, earns far more than anything else. The labor-intensive nature of vanilla cultivation means it provides employment that mechanization cannot eliminate. Every flower must be hand-pollinated. Every bean must be checked during the months of curing. This makes vanilla production resistant to the automation that has transformed other agricultural industries. As long as people value natural vanilla flavor, Madagascar's farmers will have work. It is a fragile arrangement, but one that has persisted for over a century. Sri Lanka is the largest producer of true cinnamon. While cassia, a related spice, is often sold as cinnamon, true cinnamon comes from the Cinnamomum verum tree, and Sri Lanka produces most of the world's supply. Sri Lankan cinnamon, also called Ceylon cinnamon, has a more delicate, sweeter flavor than cassia. The bark is thinner and more fragile, rolling into tight quills. Cassia is thicker, harder, and more pungent. In European and North American markets, cassia is usually sold as cinnamon because it is cheaper and more available. But connoisseurs prefer true Ceylon cinnamon for its subtle complexity. Sri Lankan cinnamon cultivation has ancient roots. The island was known to ancient traders as the source of the finest cinnamon. Even under colonial rule by Portuguese, Dutch, and British, cinnamon remained Sri Lanka's most famous export. Today, cinnamon plantations cover parts of the island's wet zone. Workers harvest cinnamon using traditional methods. The bark is stripped from shoots, and the outer bark is scraped away. The inner bark is rolled into quills and dried. Quality grades depend on the thinness and appearance of the quills. The finest grade consists of very thin, pale, tightly rolled quills. Lower grades are darker and thicker. This grading system has been refined over centuries and remains in use today. Guatemala produces most of the world's cardamom outside of India. Cardamom is native to India, but Guatemala has become a major producer, second only to India in volume. How did a Central American country become so important in the market for an Asian spice? In the early 20th century, German coffee planters in Guatemala imported cardamom plants. They discovered that the country's highland regions provided ideal growing conditions. The climate and soil mimicked cardamom's native environment in the Western Ghats. Cardamom cultivation spread, particularly among indigenous Mayan communities. Today, cardamom is an important cash crop in Guatemala's highlands. Farmers grow it alongside coffee in the forest shade. The harvest season provides crucial income. However, Guatemalan farmers face challenges. Cardamom prices fluctuate based on Indian harvest outcomes. A good year in India floods the market and depresses prices, hurting Guatemalan farmers. Political instability and violence in Guatemala have also affected production. Still, cardamom remains vital to many rural communities. Guatemalan cardamom is slightly different from Indian cardamom in flavor, reflecting differences in variety and terroir, but it serves the same culinary purposes and often sells at similar prices. Turmeric farming is intensely labor-intensive from planting to harvest. Growing turmeric requires significant manual work at every stage. The process begins with saving rhizomes, the thick, root-like structures, from the previous harvest to use as planting material. These must be healthy and disease-free. In fields, workers plant each rhizome by hand, spacing them carefully. Throughout the growing season, the plants must be weeded, mulched, and sometimes irrigated. Turmeric takes 7 to 9 months to mature. As harvest time approaches, the leaves yellow and dry, signaling readiness. Harvest is back-breaking work. The rhizomes grow underground and must be dug up carefully to avoid damage. Workers use hoes or their hands to expose the rhizomes, pull them from the soil, and collect them. After harvest, the rhizomes are boiled to halt growth and make them easier to peel. They are then dried in the sun for weeks, turned regularly to ensure even drying. Finally, the dried rhizomes are polished to remove the rough outer skin, revealing the bright orange interior. Throughout all these steps, much of the work cannot be mechanized effectively due to the delicate nature of the rhizomes and the need for quality control. This makes turmeric farming labor-intensive, but also provides employment in rural areas. Fair trade certification helps protect small spice farmers from exploitation. The global spice trade, despite its ancient roots, has modern problems. Small farmers in developing countries often receive minimal payment for their crops, while middlemen and importers capture most of the profit. Farmers lack bargaining power, market information, and access to credit. They may be forced to sell their harvest at low prices to local buyers, who then resell at much higher prices. Fair trade certification aims to address these inequities. Under fair trade systems, farmers receive guaranteed minimum prices that cover their costs of production. They also receive additional premiums that can be invested in community development. Fair trade encourages sustainable farming practices and prohibits child labor. Cooperatives give farmers collective bargaining power. These systems are not without criticism. Some argue that fair trade prices can distort markets and that the certification process is expensive and bureaucratic. However, for many small spice farmers, fair trade partnerships provide stability and dignity. They ensure that a farmer in Kerala who carefully tends pepper vines or a Guatemalan harvesting cardamom receives fair compensation. As consumers become more conscious of supply chains, fair trade spices have grown in popularity. Climate change threatens traditional spice-growing regions. Many spices grow in specific microclimates, narrow ranges of temperature, rainfall, and humidity. Climate change is disrupting these conditions. Regions that were perfect for cardamom or vanilla now experience erratic rainfall, unexpected droughts, or temperature extremes. In India, pepper and cardamom farmers report changing monsoon patterns that affect flowering and fruiting. In Madagascar, cyclones have become more frequent and intense, devastating vanilla plantations. Rising temperatures allow pests and diseases to spread to areas where they were previously kept in check by cold winters. Spice farmers are on the front lines of climate change. Many lack the resources to adapt easily. They cannot simply move their farms or switch to different crops without losing years of investment and expertise. Some spice-producing regions may become unsuitable, forcing production to shift to new areas. This could be economically devastating for communities that have depended on spice cultivation for generations. Research institutions are working to develop climate-resilient varieties and farming methods, but change is happening fast. The future geography of spice production may look very different from its past, driven by environmental changes that farmers cannot control. Organic and sustainable spice farming is growing but faces challenges. As consumers demand organic and sustainably grown foods, spice farmers are adapting. Organic spice cultivation avoids synthetic pesticides and fertilizers, relying instead on traditional methods, crop rotation, composting, and biological pest control. This approach appeals to environmentally conscious consumers and can command premium prices. However, organic farming presents challenges. Yields are often lower than conventional farming. Pest and disease management is more difficult. The transition period before a farm can be certified organic involves costs but not yet premium prices. For a small farmer operating on thin margins, this transition is risky. Sustainable certification schemes go beyond organic, considering water use, biodiversity, worker welfare, and community impact. These comprehensive approaches recognize that farming affects entire ecosystems and communities. Some spice estates have embraced sustainability as a core value, implementing rainwater harvesting, maintaining forest cover, and providing good working conditions. These practices cost more, but can differentiate products in competitive markets. Whether sustainable spice farming becomes the norm or remains a niche depends on whether consumers are willing to pay the higher prices these practices require. Spice adulteration remains a serious problem worldwide. The high value of certain spices creates incentive for fraud. Adulteration, adding cheaper substances to expensive spices, has plagued the trade for centuries. Ancient texts describe merchants mixing true spices with worthless powders. Today, despite modern regulations, adulteration continues. Saffron is particularly targeted. Fake strands of dyed grass or plastic are mixed with real saffron. Ground saffron may be cut with turmeric or paprika. Ground spices are especially vulnerable. Turmeric is adulterated with lead chromate to enhance its color, a particularly dangerous practice since lead is toxic. Ground paprika might contain brick dust or other fillers. Even whole spices can be treated. Peppercorns have been found coated with papaya seeds. Testing technologies have improved, allowing authorities to detect many forms of adulteration. DNA testing can confirm species. Chemical analysis can identify foreign substances. However, enforcement is inconsistent, especially in regions with limited resources. Consumers can protect themselves by buying whole spices from reputable sources, learning what authentic spices look and smell like, and being suspicious of prices that seem too good to be true. The adulteration problem reminds us that the spice trade's ancient challenges persist into the modern era. The future of spices. Vertical farms may soon grow fresh herbs in cities year-round. Urban agriculture is transforming how we think about food production. Vertical farms, using stacked growing systems in controlled environments, can produce fresh herbs in cities, regardless of season or outdoor weather. These facilities use LED lights tuned to optimal wavelengths for plant growth, hydroponic or aeroponic systems that deliver nutrients directly to roots, and precise climate control. The result is year-round production of fresh basil, cilantro, mint, and other herbs. While these are not dried spices, they represent a shift in how we access plant-based flavors. Vertical farms eliminate transportation time and distance, delivering peak freshness. They use less water than traditional farming and require no pesticides. However, they consume significant electricity, and currently, the economics only work for high-value crops like fresh herbs and leafy greens. Spices like pepper, cinnamon, or vanilla require years of growth or specific conditions difficult to replicate indoors. But for fresh herbs that flavor our food, urban vertical farming may reshape supply chains. Imagine buying basil or cilantro grown in a facility within your city, harvested that morning. For urban dwellers disconnected from agriculture, these farms reconnect people with growing food, even if in a high-tech environment. Synthetic biology might produce vanilla without vanilla orchids. Scientists are working on producing vanillin, vanilla's main flavor compound, through synthetic biology. Rather than growing and curing vanilla beans, they genetically engineer yeast or bacteria to produce vanillin. These microorganisms are grown in vats, producing vanillin much faster and cheaper than agricultural vanilla. This is not entirely new. Most vanilla flavoring already comes from synthetic vanillin, made from wood pulp or petroleum derivatives. But these synthetic versions taste different from natural vanilla extract, which contains hundreds of compounds beyond vanillin. Bioengineered vanillin aims to be closer to natural vanilla while remaining cheaper. From a production standpoint, this makes sense. Vanilla farming is difficult, labor-intensive, and vulnerable to climate and disease. Bioreactors offer consistent quality and supply. However, This raises questions. If vanilla can be produced without farmers, what happens to communities in Madagascar or Mexico that depend on vanilla cultivation? Is bioreactor vanilla truly natural? How should it be labeled? These questions extend beyond vanilla to other spices. As biotechnology advances, more flavor compounds might be produced this way. The future may involve choices between traditional agricultural spices and bioengineered alternatives. Each option has trade-offs involving economics, environmental impact, cultural preservation, and personal values. Precision agriculture helps spice farmers optimize yields and quality. Modern technology is reaching even small spice farms in remote regions. Smartphones with agricultural apps provide farmers with weather forecasts, pest and disease identification, and market prices. Satellite imagery helps monitor crop health across large areas. Soil sensors measure moisture and nutrients, allowing precise irrigation and fertilization. Drones survey fields, identifying problems before they become visible from the ground. These precision agriculture tools help farmers make better decisions, use resources more efficiently, and improve quality. For instance, a pepper farmer in Vietnam can use soil moisture sensors to irrigate only when needed, saving water and preventing root diseases caused by overwatering. A cardamom farmer in Guatemala can photograph a diseased plant and receive identification and treatment recommendations from an app. This democratization of technology helps level the playing field between large commercial operations and small family farms. However, access remains uneven. Farmers need smartphones, internet connectivity, and technical literacy. In some spice-growing regions, these are still luxuries. Extension services, NGOs, and governments are working to bridge this gap, recognizing that helping small farmers adopt appropriate technology benefits everyone in the supply chain, from farmer to consumer. Consumers increasingly care about the stories behind their spices. The modern consumer wants more than just a jar of spices. They want to know where it came from, who grew it, how it was processed, and whether it was produced ethically and sustainably. This trend toward transparency and traceability is reshaping the spice industry. Some companies now provide detailed information about specific farms and farmers, QR codes on packaging, linked to videos of the farmers, descriptions of their methods, and even messages from the people who grew the spice. This storytelling serves multiple purposes. It builds emotional connection between consumer and producer. It justifies premium prices by showing the care and craft involved. It holds companies accountable for their sourcing practices. Single-origin spices, highlighting specific regions or even specific estates, have emerged as a category similar to single-origin coffee or chocolate. A jar of Tellicherry black pepper from a named estate in Kerala, or cardamom from a specific cooperative in Guatemala, becomes more than a commodity. It becomes a product with provenance, character, and story. This shift benefits farmers by potentially increasing their earnings and recognition. It benefits consumers by providing quality and ethical assurance. It represents a move away from viewing spices as anonymous bulk commodities towards seeing them as agricultural products worthy of appreciation. Spice tourism brings visitors to plantations and spice gardens. In regions famous for spices, tourism has become an additional revenue source. Spice plantations in Kerala, India, offer tours where visitors walk through pepper, cardamom, and vanilla groves, learning how these spices grow and are processed. In Zanzibar, Tanzania, spice tours are a major attraction, with guides showing tourists clove trees, nutmeg trees, cinnamon bark, and other spices, often including a traditional meal. In Grenada, visitors tour the island's nutmeg processing stations. This agritourism provides income while educating people about spices. Many visitors have never seen a pepper vine or a cinnamon tree. They have no idea that cardamom grows in the forest shade or that vanilla requires hand pollination. Spice tourism transforms abstract products in jars into living plants with specific needs and growing conditions. It connects urban people with agricultural reality. For farmers and plantation owners, tourism offers a way to add value and diversify income. Instead of just selling raw spices, they sell experiences and education. This can be particularly valuable during periods when spice prices are low. Spice tourism also promotes cultural heritage. Traditional methods, old varieties, and local knowledge that might otherwise be lost gain value as tourist attractions worth preserving and showcasing. Heirloom and rare spice varieties are being preserved and promoted, just as food enthusiasts have embraced heirloom tomatoes and vegetables. Interest in rare and traditional spice varieties is growing. Not all black pepper tastes the same. Different regions and varieties have distinct flavor profiles. The same is true for chilies, cinnamon, cardamom, and other spices. Some traditional varieties that were once common have become rare, displaced by higher yielding or easier to grow alternatives. Now, efforts are underway to preserve this diversity. Seed banks store genetic material from rare spice varieties. Farmers are being encouraged to grow traditional varieties. Specialty spice companies market these heirlooms to chefs and consumers willing to pay more for unique flavors. For instance, kampot pepper from Cambodia, long pepper from India, white turmeric, or wild cardamom are available from specialty suppliers. These rare varieties often have historical significance, having been prized in particular cuisines or eras. Preserving them maintains genetic diversity, which is important for resilience against diseases and climate change. It also preserves cultural heritage and provides small farmers with niche markets. The heirloom spice movement is still small compared to conventional production, but it represents a counter-trend to industrial agriculture's focus on standardization and efficiency. Lab-grown meat may change how we use spices. The emerging field of cultured meat, real meat grown from cells in bioreactors without raising and slaughtering animals, will affect spice usage. Traditional meat dishes have evolved over centuries with specific spice pairings: pork with fennel and sage, lamb with rosemary and cumin, chicken with thyme and paprika. These pairings developed based on the flavors of the meat from animals raised in particular ways. Lab-grown meat may taste different because the muscle tissue has not been exercised, fed, or aged in traditional ways. As cultured meat becomes available, cooks will need to discover which spices complement its flavors. This might lead to new traditions or revivals of old spice blends. It could also change demand for particular spices. If cultured meat requires more robust spicing to achieve satisfying flavor, demand for strongly flavored spices might increase. Alternatively, if cultured meat is deliberately flavored during production, external seasoning might become less important. The intersection of cultured meat technology and traditional spicecraft will be interesting to watch. It represents how new technologies create unexpected effects across seemingly unrelated areas. The spice industry, with roots stretching back millennia, will adapt to this 21st century innovation. The next generation may value spices differently than their ancestors. Throughout history, spices have signified wealth, sophistication, preservation, medicine, and flavor. But each generation's relationship with spices evolves. For people who grew up before refrigeration, spices were essential for food preservation and safety. For baby boomers, spices represented exotic flavors from distant lands. For millennials and Gen Z, spices are everyday ingredients easily purchased. but there is growing interest in their origins, ethics, and stories. Younger consumers prioritize sustainability, animal welfare, and social justice, which influences their spice purchasing. They are more likely to seek out fair trade, organic, or single-origin spices. They are interested in traditional spice blends from immigrant communities, seeing spices as connections to global cultures. At the same time, younger generations in some regions use fewer spices at home, preferring to dine out or buy prepared foods. The future demand for spices depends on cultural trends in home cooking, global migration patterns that spread spice traditions, and whether young people develop the interest and skill to use spices creatively. The spice industry must adapt to these shifting values and habits, ensuring spices remain relevant and accessible to new generations. Digital platforms connect small spice farmers directly with global consumers. The internet is disrupting traditional spice supply chains. Previously, a farmer sold to a local buyer, who sold to a regional trader, who sold to an export company, who sold to an importer, who sold to a distributor, who sold to a store. Each middleman added markup, and the farmer received a small fraction of the final price. Now, online platforms allow farmers or farmer cooperatives to sell directly to consumers worldwide. A consumer in New York can order spices directly from a farm in Kerala, viewing photos of the farm, reading the farmer's story, and paying a price that gives the farmer much more while costing the consumer less than premium store prices. Blockchain technology enables complete supply chain transparency, tracking spices from farm to kitchen. These direct connections benefit both parties, but require infrastructure, digital literacy, logistics, and trust building. Organizations and companies are emerging to facilitate these connections, providing platforms, payment systems, and shipping arrangements. While direct trade will not replace traditional supply chains entirely, it represents a significant shift. It empowers farmers, educates consumers, and creates relationships that span the globe. It is a modern version of the ancient spice trade, but with transparency and equity that were rarely present in the past. Closing reflections. The spice cabinet in your kitchen holds thousands of years of human history. Every jar contains not just flavor, but stories. Stories of ancient farmers who first cultivated these plants. Stories of merchants who carried them across deserts and oceans. Stories of wars fought, fortunes made and lost, empires built and fallen. Stories of enslaved people who suffered in spice fields. Stories of botanists who classified and studied them. Stories of cooks who learned how to coax magic from them. When you open a jar of cinnamon, you connect to pharaohs in Egypt, spice traders in medieval Venice, and planters in Sri Lanka. When you grind black pepper, you participate in a practice that spans continents and millennia. Spices represent humanity's restless curiosity, our willingness to travel impossible distances for flavor, our ability to transform agriculture into art, and our deep need for more than mere sustenance. Food must taste good, must bring pleasure, must connect us to culture and memory. Spices do all of this. They are the original global commodity, the first products to circle the earth, and they remain relevant today despite all our modern technologies. Spices have changed empires, but remain humble plants. For all their influence on human history, spices come from ordinary plants. Pepper is a vine, cinnamon is tree bark, cloves are flower buds, ginger is a root. These plants evolved their chemistry for their own protection, never imagining that a particular species of ape would find those same compounds delicious. There is something humbling about this. The spices that launched ships, funded palaces, and changed the map of the world are just plants doing what plants do, producing chemicals to survive. Humans added all the meaning, the value, the desire. A peppercorn does not know it once was worth its weight in silver. A cinnamon tree does not care that kingdoms fought over its bark. The plants simply grow, reproduce, and die, following their genetic programs. We are the ones who taste their defenses and call them delicious. We are the ones who travel thousands of miles to obtain them. We are the ones who create elaborate cuisines around them. The spices themselves remain innocent of the drama we have created around them. They are just trying to survive. The flavors we love connect us across cultures and generations. A particular spice blend can transport you to a specific time and place. The smell of cinnamon might bring back memories of your grandmother's kitchen. The taste of cumin might remind you of a meal in Morocco. The heat of chili might recall a street food stall in Thailand. These connections are not just personal, but cultural. When immigrant communities cook with traditional spices, they maintain connections to homelands. When children grow up with certain flavors, those become their comfort foods, their taste, memories, their heritage. When people of different backgrounds share meals, they share more than nutrition. They share culture, history, and humanity. Spices are ambassadors in this exchange. They carry flavors across borders, introducing people to tastes they might never encounter otherwise. In our globalized world, spices have become more accessible than ever. A small grocery store might stock spices from a dozen countries. This accessibility is a gift, an opportunity to expand our palates and our understanding. Every time we try a new spice, we open a small window into another culture's culinary wisdom. Spices remind us that life is more than survival. Humans do not need spices to live. We require protein, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and minerals. Spices provide essentially none of these. Yet we have traveled to the ends of the earth for them. We have paid fortunes. We have risked death, crossing oceans and deserts. Why? Because life is more than survival. We do not just want to live. We want to live well, to experience pleasure, to surround ourselves with beauty and interesting sensations. Spices represent this human impulse toward something beyond necessity. They are pure pleasure, pure flavor, pure sensory delight. In this way, spices are like art, music, or literature, not required for biological survival, but essential for human flourishing. The care we put into seasoning our food reflects our belief that meals should be more than fuel. They should be experiences worth savoring. In the simple act of sprinkling cinnamon on oatmeal or adding cardamom to coffee, we affirm that pleasure matters, that beauty matters, that flavor matters. We declare that we are not merely surviving, but living. And so, dear listener, our journey through the aromatic world of spices comes to a close. From ancient Egypt to modern vertical farms, from the spice islands to your kitchen shelf, we have wandered through millennia of human fascination with flavor. We have explored the plants themselves, the compounds they contain, the ways they grow and are harvested, the routes they traveled, the wars they sparked, and the dishes they season. We have tasted heat and sweetness, felt the tingle and the burn, smelled the warm and the fresh. Through it all, one truth emerges. Spices are more than ingredients. They are history, culture, art, and pleasure distilled into seeds, roots, bark, and flowers. They are humanity's ancient gift to itself, flavors coaxed from the plant kingdom and spread across the globe. As you rest here, letting your breath slow and your muscles relax, imagine the warmth of cinnamon, the bite of pepper, the golden glow of turmeric, the delicate sweetness of vanilla. Picture spice markets with their colorful pyramids of powder, plantations where vines climb tall trees, and kitchens where cooks grind and blend with practiced hands. See the long history stretching back, connecting you to every person who ever sprinkled, ground, or stirred these same flavors. You are part of this ancient tradition, part of a story that began when the first human tasted something and thought, "That is good, I want more of that." The spices rest in their jars, patient and waiting. Their stories have been told for tonight. Their flavors will wait for morning. Your own story continues, but for now, it moves into sleep, into dreams, into the deep rest that prepares you for tomorrow. Close your eyes and let the comfort of warm spices wrap around you like a blanket. Let the long journey from ancient trade routes to modern tables fade into the background. Let everything settle into stillness, into quiet, into the gentle darkness where dreams are made. Good night.